أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين بسم الله الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين.
His Masters in Educational Psychology from the Institute of Education in the University of London. He served as an Imam for several years in London Islamic Cultural Society in North London, where he set up an Islamic school currently still running. From 2000-2003, he was the head of Islamic Studies and of Arabic in one of Yusuf Islam's colleges in North London. He teaches philosophy of religion, he's full of Tafsir al-Quran and Islamic history at Ibrahim College in East London, which he, amongst many others, during interfaith work, he focuses on real issues concerning Muslims and non-Muslims alike, and desires a positive change in the lives of people. He lectures at universities, colleges and massajids throughout the world, so these include Belgium, Holland, Trinidad and Tobago and the UAE.
Sure.
So inshallah, Brother Munib is going to come and do a short recitation for us.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون يوم تبيض وجوه وتسود وجوه فأما الذين اسودت وجوههم أكفرتم بعد إيمانكم فذوقوا العذاب بما كنتم تكفرون وأما الذين ابيضت وجوههم ففي رحمة الله هم فيها خالدون تلك آيات الله نتلوها عليك بالحق وما الله يريد ظلما للعالمين ولله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وإلى الله ترجع الأمور صدق الله العظيم.
Okay, so inshallah during the talk, we've set up a question and answer texting. So if you just text in if you have any questions you want to ask the Sheikh, and inshallah we'll be able to answer them at the end of the talk. So.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear respected brothers and sisters who are coming on this evening, you've sacrificed some time to sit here. So I'm going to request a few rules while we have, because I know that as young people we've got a lot of busy things that are going to do here. One thing is, if you could please all put your phones on silent, that's one. And I don't want anyone texting during my lecturing. So if you're going to go to the A&E because of because of something, then you just go to the A&E. If that's why you're texting, or if someone's there at the A&E that you need to see, then you do that. Otherwise, while I'm talking, I actually appreciate it. You don't have to take your phones out. If you need to text my questions, that's fine. You will text my question. The question that you text the question to this just by popping your phone out and making quick text, and that's fine. I'm actually standing here right now. I've got about 5 people who are texting already. So I don't know why you were already texting before I even started. So it's an adab as well. And what I found in my lecture is that if I've got the attention that I need, then I can actually interact with you a lot better. I'll actually say a lot more things that we share commonly, but if someone's sitting there and not paying attention, I'd rather that. I don't mind, you need to go outside and do whatever it is, that's fine. But while you're sitting here, it's best that you don't do that. Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, about the actual topic itself. The topic is a very interesting one, and interesting for several reasons. And what I don't want to just do here is just go on about talking about different sects and groups of Islam. I actually want to talk about the psyche that's there behind us, behind making the choices that we make before we get into these groups. Because it's really important to see our own bias, our prejudice, if we have any. If there's anyone sitting here who's never had any bias, please put your hands up. Thank you. So you're generally from the university culture that understands what I'm talking about. Everyone has bias. Everyone has prejudice. And don't tell me that in religion you don't have bias. Don't tell me that in religion you don't come with something already, a pre-notion to the religion. Whether you were a born Muslim or whether you became a practicing Muslim later on in life, or you became a new Muslim or whatever it is in the faith that you come, if you're sitting here and you're in the religion, then you have had certain channels that have given you your pre-notions and your thoughts. You can't deny that. Everything I'm going to say to you, inshallah, I will be talking to every single individual here. Because these facts, no one wants to talk about them. What everyone wants to talk about is whether I am part of the Salafi movement, Sufi movement, this movement, that movement, this group, that group. That's what everyone wants to talk about. What people don't want to talk about is what actually, sorry about that, I'm blocking. What actually people don't want to talk about is what made them make that move to that particular group. Now, let's talk in a general sense. What makes you actually a person who supports, let's say that we've got a lot of brothers here, okay? A lot of you support maybe, Leeds United, maybe Manchester United, you guys are laughing here. So maybe Manchester United, Leeds United, whatever it is, you might, wherever you come from, might be Arsenal or whatever. Now, it's funny because you've got people down south that are supporting Liverpool, and they've probably never been to Liverpool. And you've got people up north supporting Arsenal, Tottenham and so on, but they've been there, but they've actually not really, gone there, lived there and so on. But when you start thinking, what made them Tottenham supporters, what made them, Liverpool supporters? You go back and you'll see that there's a stage in life how they were introduced to these things. It wasn't actually, no one actually sat there. I'm telling you, if any of you guys who support football tell me this, have you actually sat there and started to watch Leeds how they play, then Man U have the grade, Arsenal have the grade, and you look at the next one, and you then take like 4, 5, or the 10 of the biggest leagues out there, and you study them. You study the strikers, you study the midfielders, you study the defenders, you look at the coaches, you look at the managers, you look at the money they've got, you look at what they do, you look at their ethics, you look at the morals, you look at the ethics on the actual ground itself. Tell me which football supporter here has actually done a proper study on 10 different teams and said, you know what, because of this reason, I'm actually following Man United because they've got a lot of the best things that you can actually think of. Guys, anyone put your hand up? No one. As far as I know, no one ever done that. It's all like, Man U, what are you for? It's because my friend supports it. It's the group I grew up in. It's my house. When I grew up, my dad probably supported it. Sometimes what happens is that the dad supports it, and then they don't like the dad, so they want to support the opposite team. You know, there's always a reason why people make these moves. Sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's the group they're growing up with. Now, I'm just giving you a random thing. A sister who's actually making a stance. So, this is a general thing, like, for example, the studies that you're studying. Why are you here? Why are you studying? What made you come here? I mean, there are a lot of variables behind that actually make you make the choices. So when it comes to religion, most people think that the biggest mistake I think most people make is that they think, well, some people think that Islam is just one thing, it should stay one. There's only one place in Islam that can be right and everything else is wrong. And therefore, if you don't get that one group, one piece, if you're not in that, then you've actually missed out on the whole of the akhirah, and then you've gone off path and so on. Now, I am saying something that is really important to your lives here, and you have made a choice in your life to be who you are right now, whatever notion you've got. But if you think about it, the Islam, the sect that you've chosen or you've become part of, there are reasons why you've come to that. There are reasons. Just like football, you've got certain things that are pushed you in that direction without you even thinking about it, the same way you've been pushed. So most people who I know, because of their family background, that's what makes them who they are. Most people because of their friends' background. So if it wasn't family that had first influence on them, it's normally in university you get together with certain friends. And then you start to make your beliefs according to what your friends tell you. Some others is because who pulled them into the deen, who made them practice it, right? Now tell me, there's one more step behind this. Like, you don't really think about that. And I've got a degree in psychology, and that's why I'm speaking like this. You've got a subconscious mind, and you've got certain things that are inside you which you don't question. It's the patterns of thinking. There's trust behind you adapting or taking in anyone's information. Right? So, for example, if you like someone, if you trust them, if you believe in them, that's the basis for you to accepting whatever else they're going to say. Am I saying something correct or incorrect? Correct or incorrect, guys? Or am I sounding like one of your lecturers in the university today? You're probably thinking how I'm going to start coming in and start to say, take one group's name and say, yeah, you've all got to become like this and so on. Now, I'm looking at the patterns behind it. Now, there's trust. Can anyone tell me what's behind that trust? You've got the other one? Yeah. Okay, experience. Anyone else want to start with another? Yeah? Commonalities. The more common you are, that trust starts to get built up. The more, like Rasulullah said, that the two people they actually meet, the more things they find common between them, the more of a friendly nature they're going to have. The more things they find different to them, the more they're going to sort of not really like each other. There's a hadith in Abu Dawud, and it's a good chain. And there are various hadiths like this. So the more common things you find, you're making now, your whole beliefs now, okay, your sectarianism, whatever it is based on the trust. The trust is based on the commonalities that we have between these people. There's something else as well, which is what? Which is that once you've gone through that barrier of trust, you are totally inexperienced when you come to something new. Like I said, right, there's no guy who goes into football who watches 10 different leagues and then decides which one to choose. No one does that. You just get into it. It's so easy, just get into it. If you're supporting Man U, oh Man U have won this, yeah, they've been winning, they've got the cup, they've got this cup, that cup, and so on. So yeah. And what are people looking for? People are looking for, and I want to state this here, people are looking for them being important. That's what people are looking for. That's what creates the sectarianism. Because when one sect is there and another sect is there, because of the background you've chosen, you want to become important. You have to become important. You better be right. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look dumb. I made the wrong choice. And if I have, I'll quickly shift, that's fine. But the longer I stay in there, the more difficult it is for me to make the shift. Yes or no, guys? Yeah, I'm talking to all of you here, yeah? Yes or no? So you find that you now have entered somewhere inexperienced, and whatever those guys told you, with anything, you take it. You go through the cycle of what the child goes through. Now let's talk about the child. Remember, the ulama say there's three types of people. There's one type of people, you tell them something, you give them no evidence, they will believe you. Okay? You've got a second type of people, you tell them something, you give them the evidence, then they will believe you. Number 3 is you tell them something, and you give them the evidence, but they still don't believe you. So they say the first one is the little young child. A child never says to you, what's your dalil? You say to a child, this is how you say Allahu Akbar. He's not going to say, no, Daddy, what's your dalil for this? He's not going to say that to you. He's just going to copy you. In fact, without you even asking him to do it, he'll just follow you. Dalil is based on evidence. So he won't ask you for evidence. Any child the child is there naive, and he's got trust, to the 100% level. Whatever you say, he's taking it in. Until he gets to a certain age, he'll start then thinking for himself, and then he'll ask for the evidence. So when you give him the evidence, this is the second type. You give him the evidence, then he accepts it. You don't give the evidence, that's a teenager, that's your, that's your guy in his 20s or in their 20s. They'll ask for the evidence before they accept it from you. And the third, the one that you give evidence and they still don't accept it, is your oldie. Your chacha, your uncle, in the community or the committee, whatever it is, you give them evidence and they still don't want to accept it because they're just that age, they're a difficult group to deal with. But what I want to say to you is that when you came to the deen, can you please go back, rewind yourself, when you became practicing or when you started to follow the religion or find out where you are in the religion, there's one thing that definitely must have happened, that you must have started to question. So someone must have given you certain dalils and certain evidences to you. Say, look, the sect that you're from, that is actually the most, that is actually the best sect in comparison to all of this because of these reasons, blah, 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 blah. Yeah? If it hasn't happened yet, you're going to, at some point in your life, you're going to start questioning it, and you will go through that door. Now, the next thing is, hang on a minute, I don't want to just talk about the norm. I want to talk about the thing that's behind that. How do you know that the people or the person that told you how much you can trust your sect and how authentic it is, how do you know how well studied or versed they are? Has anyone actually questioned that? You don't do that. That's why I said to you that you go through the child syndrome again. The child syndrome is that you have to go one step back. You have to just take your initial reaction. Like some guy says to you, look, he's your friend, you like him, you share commonalities with him, you trust him. So he then tells you that, look, this is how we practice the deen. Don't listen to these other guys. Oh, okay, man, I don't want to listen to those guys, man. This is what you do. Anyone comes to you and tells you this, you just tell him that. Yes, I will tell him that. Because he's your friend, you always commonalities there, you trust him with everything else, so now you trust him with religion. But then you don't question, just like the child doesn't question. Initially no one does this. But after a little while, you will then start investigating yourself about, okay, let's look at the differences. But what's happened is, you have, without a shadow of a doubt, you've been poisoned with natural bias, natural prejudice. The moment you've gone through this whole line that I've just talked about, you've gone through prejudice right now. Now, you're already within, you're going to always think from within. You're never going to think from outside, looking in. You're always going to, from looking inside to the outside world. So this is your home now. This sect, whatever you belong to, this is it. This is the truth. So when you look at your own truth and you feel this is my own truth, you can see few mistakes. So I must have touched one of your keyboards. When you feel that you're part of it and this is your own, you can't see many mistakes, you can't see many things wrong with that. You can see the other's mistake very easily. And it's all based on the pre-notions that the people gave you, the person gave you who told you about your sector. Is there anyone here who disagrees with me? Put your hand up. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the thing is, we all come from different sects. I've got a bias, you've got a bias. I've got prejudice, you've got prejudice. And we're all in our own little homes. Nice and home sweet home. Right? So, what should make me move from my place to yours? What's going to make me start to say, let me question my house, let me question my inside of my place? Now let me tell you before I carry on, okay? You might be thinking, okay, I'm sitting here talking about all this to you on this evening. What have I gone through? I've gone through a lot, and I'm still going through a lot. And life's always about learning. I believe at this moment, I've always believed, there's a point when I knew that I needed to make shifts to get to the middle. But at this moment in life, I do believe that if I'm not right bang on where the middle is, I'm somewhat very close to the middle. I'm not very far off the middle. That's my belief right now. And I'm going to tell you my layers and what I went through in life. Okay? And I want you to reflect on yours. Because when you walk away from here tonight, what I want you to do is, I want you to question yourselves. I want you to question your thinking, your friends, your associates, your parents, your culture, your background, your ethnic background, the people of your university, the people who you hang around with. I want you to question all of them and start thinking. My original thing that I was born in a Muslim family, okay, and I come from that Deobandi background. I don't know if some of you probably sitting here don't know what that is, but it doesn't matter really. But I grew up, and I've actually gone through. When your computer gets a virus, and you have to get a scan done, and you have to get anti-virus software, and you have to start putting it into the machine and get that virus out. Sometimes you have to clean the computer and then restart again. Yeah? Yes, guys? Yep. I've had to do that with my religious knowledge 2 or 3 times over. And I think, what? I've had to do that because when I was young, when I grew up in my house, my mother told me so many good things about religion, so many good things. And I took all that in as the religion. And then what happened is, I went to a madrasa. My father told me about religion, I took that all in. My mother, my father, they both made up my religion. And then, of course, the society I was living in, I was in a town called Walsall, and whatever I heard there from the different mosques I went to, I made up my mind up of what it is. And I was given all of this. This is what I was given. I hadn't really thought to myself. But one thing I used to think, certain things used to make me think, right? Because we came from a certain masjid that was like a Deobandi masjid, and right across the road was a brilliant masjid. And I used to go to the mosque with my dad, and there used to be these Pakistani elderly figures that used to go to the mosque as well, but to the Brainly one. Now we used to all walk. He used to come from his house from wherever it was. I used to come from my house, and there used to be a point when we used to meet almost every salah, almost every day. At some point I said, "Assalamu alaikum, kaiso ji, tigo ji, right? A good handshake, whatever. And just a salam. My dad would say salam to them, and then say salam to my father, and then we walk all the way down the streets until we got to literally, just look at the length of one road only. We've got this mosque here, and we've got that mosque there. They go in that mosque, we go in this mosque, we both pray, and then we both come out, And as we walk in there, we say salam to each other, but I've never walked in their masjid and they've never walked in mine. This is for years. I'm talking about probably span of 5-6 years I went through this. Right? And I used to think that, what is this? They meet each other. They say salam to each other. But they don't cross each other. They don't go to each other's mosques. So when I questioned, my father just told me that they're from the other. It's okay, they're from the other. We don't practice some of the things that they practice. Okay. Now, the first erase that I went through, this virus check, right, was when I joined madrasa. And that was in Dewsbury, not very far away from here. I was there for about 4 years, and because when I went there, I had to then say, okay, everything I've learned at this point, I have to actually start checking everything. Now, there was quite a lot of things that came up that were faulty. These are things you shouldn't believe in. These things you shouldn't have. These practices you shouldn't have. This way you shouldn't pray. Blah blah blah. My class. 4 years later, I went to Nottingham, where there was my dear Ustad, is still alive. May Allah give me a very long life and a pious life. Mona Fadl Rahim from Oldham was there, in Nottingham. Some of you might know him from Oldham. I spent 4 good years with him in his presence and serving him and so on. And what I noticed is that I had to go through another erasing period, because now the knowledge that he was giving was just absolutely superb. It was like he would go to the sources and so on and say, wow, Sheikh, I believe in this and I know this and I practice this. Can you check my salah? Can you check this? Can you check that? And he went through the whole process. Every day he used to spend about 2 hours with him, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever I could with him. And I went through all of that. So that was the second phase I went through. Then, of course, you're still going to say to me, well, these are all Dilman, these are madrasas that have come out of this. You're absolutely right. And I came out. But I came to London, and I remember the place where I became imam. I came there, and straight away I had big issues with these guys. Big issues. Massive issues. I couldn't believe it. First time I've seen people without beards talking about Islam. Man, what do they think this is? They don't know the religion. They don't know it, man. The guy's got his trousers beneath his ankles, lecturing about Islam. Look at your trousers, Akhi, first. Look at your trousers, brother. What are you doing? Right? And it's just like big change for me, right? And these guys are talking about politics. And they're, university ISAF students who come to the masjid and they've got their cameras and they're basically holding their political talks and so on. So I clashed with them. I said, listen guys, you don't know your fiqh. You don't know your, wudu properly. Right? And you're talking about running a country or a political thing, and we just clashed. Right? And we had a riff-raff, whatever you want to call it. But, it was a really good experience. Because what he was doing to me is that it's shaping my thoughts. I went back to the madrasa. Actually, I started doing this while I was in the madrasa. I went back to Mona Fadl Rahim and I said, Mona, they're saying this. So he was saying, what about this? I said, whoa, thank you. Thank you. So I went back with those arguments. And I came back different. Mona said, what are you thinking of now? So I'm thinking of this now. He said, what about this? I said, wow, that's good. So I kept on going. But what I'm actually doing is, I'm actually cutting off and the excess, and I'm actually shifting somewhere towards the middle. Because what I'm doing is, I'm actually now looking at them thinking, you know what, they've got a point. How come we don't have political, though we've got politics in our studies, we don't make it a major part of our studies? What's the point of having all this Islamic knowledge if you don't actually put it into practice? So I'm starting beginning to question myself now, right? Then I came across another group. This group was more to this kind of Islamic socialists. And I had my clash with them. My God, I had my clash. This brother calls me this hadith, I call him that hadith, and gives me that ayah, gives me that ayah, and boom, 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 boom. Right? But it was shaping me again, because now I was getting the Islamic socialist. That was a political, this was socialist. And then I came across, brothers that we call Salafis. And oh my God, the debates we had. And at that time, that Sheikh Albani's book, Sifat al-Salah, was translated. And it was fresh off the shelves. So you can imagine that you guys are getting the 20 years later report, right? We got it fresh, you know. They said, that's it. They went around and they said, you know, they went to ISOX and they said, Akhi, your prayer is wrong, right? The way you pray, Akhi, your prayer is not accepted. That's what they did at university. So these Hanafis said, oh, you know, my father's wrong, my mother's wrong, my whole ancestors are wrong, you know, man, you know. And they went home, they start debating with their parents, and start telling them, you know, Mom, you're not supposed to pray like that, you're supposed to do Rafa Yadayn, you're supposed to say Ameen loudly, and all that started. And then the other side is starting their fresh rebuttal. And they say, no, Hanafi madhab is okay, we've got dalil. And they say, the dalil is, you know, weak, it's not in Sahih Bukhari, and then you don't need to have it in Sahih Bukhari. And it's going on, and this was fresh, this was hot, yeah? And I was in the thick of it. Right? Obviously, I'm a Hanafi, and I'm you know, ranting along, and I think that, you know, you guys, you know, you messed up the way you're thinking and so on. So it was interesting, but what it did is ultimately, it was shaping me again, because I'm coming through confrontation, which is actually questioning my thinking, my background, whatever I was, okay? And I'm slowly starting to shift. Then I started to question. And these are the questions that I'm asking you to start questioning. And look, most of you brothers and sisters here, you're not to, again, no, honestly, with all due respect to yourselves, you haven't gone through like 9 years of madrasa studies like myself, so you haven't got the very basics of the deen to start saying, okay, the actual source says this, so I'm not basing on the translation and all that kind of stuff. But what I do want to say to you is, the least you can do is, and this is what I started to realize is, that I started to see polemics. I started to look at my Deobandi background, look at the Brelvi one, look at the Sufi one, look at the Salafi one, and look at this one and that one. I started to see, you know what? There's polemics. There's a whole history. I started to pick up history. Start looking at all these, you know, like, for example, you know, how many of you have heard of like Maududi? Yeah. Hands up, yeah? Maududi and so on. So I start looking at, you know, the works of that. I start looking at the Ikhwanis. I start looking at their books. I start looking at Hizb ut-Tahrir. I start reading their books. I start reading, you know, so I'm really going down now. I start looking at, you know, Ibn Jawzi's books, and Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi's books, Ibn Taymiyyah's books, and so on. So from the Salafism background, Ibn Baz's books, and going through, seeing, okay, what do these guys actually say? Let me go to the sources. So I've gone through, now I'm not going to say to you I'm a master of all of this, no, I've just gone through certain literature of some of the big names that you've got in all of these different groups. And then I was surprised to see how biased each one was looking, not just myself, we're biased as well. We had bias, we had prejudice, they had prejudice, they had bias. So for example, a guy sitting in the middle of Afghanistan, okay, let me just talk to you about bias here. A guy sitting in the middle of Afghanistan, right? Now in Afghanistan, northwest of Pakistan, sorry, I don't want you guys to start taking your Kalashnikovs out and shooting me, right? You know, Pathans can be quite tough here, like, please, if you're Pathans, take it easy, right? Second Jordan. Okay, so what happens is I'm seeing this, you know, I'm actually questioning, okay, this writer wrote this, what made him write this? So you see kind of, this is the writer, he's sitting in the middle of Afghanistan. Now, you've got to think, what was it 5 centuries ago in the middle of Afghanistan? Today even, you can't get the girls to go to school in Afghanistan. It's very difficult. Yes? Yes, guys? Right. 5 centuries ago, you can say it's almost impossible to have any women in any of the stages of sort of controlling and so on, you know, the government affairs or anything else, council leaders and so on. So what he's seeing here now is they keep their women pretty much. This is, you can almost imagine that even before Islam came, they must have probably said, you know, a woman has no say in the society and in what the governing affairs is of the society. So when Islam came, 2 hadiths came, 2 ahadith came. One hadith came, for example, which was that a woman, her best place to pray is the house. Another hadith came that if your woman asks you, your wife asks you to go to the mosque, do not prevent her from going to the mosque. Both of them are acceptable hadith. But what do you think the Afghan scholar did? Go on, guys.
He didn't want the woman to go out.
Yes, he didn't want the woman to go out. So which one of the hadith is going to give preference to?
The first.
Sorry? The one that tells her that stay home. That's what they did. And in India, many parts of India, same starting to happen. And when you start looking at literature now, this one is saying, well, this is it. You got this hadith. Why do you want to even mention the other hadith? this hadith backs up what we believe in. And the other one saying, no, that hadith backs up what we believe in. And they've got there, they're both holding on to two sides of the ark. And you're thinking, hang on a minute, whoa, what is really going on here? Why would the Prophet do that? And if you look good, and I don't want to go into the whole debate, but I just want to show you that the bias behind is now making them prejudge the hadith and the ayats and how things work and so on. Okay, let me give you another example. If you were born in the middle of, or let's say you went to Medina University and you studied, you came out, and if you go to, let's say for example, to India, to the east, and you studied, and you came out, have you, let me just ask you, have you actually seen people who come out from the two different ends? Has anyone met two, like one guy from Medina University, one guy from the east? Yes? Put your hands up. Yeah, good. If you compare them, they're actually talking about what their ustads are made up of. And their ustads and their shuyukh and so on, they've got pressures that they have to buy down to. So what I started to seek then is, I thought, well, hang on a minute, if we're all biased, that's not going to work. Within this bias, we must have certain scholars that are moderate. And I started to check up on this, and I found that in every single population, there are moderate scholars. Every population. You've got moderate Gurvis, you've got moderate Deobandis, you've got moderate Sufis, you've got moderate Salafis. So I was very interested in this. I thought, hang on, wait, this is a new thing. And you know what happens? Is that the ones that are moderate, they're well researched, their voice is not heard. And you know why it's not heard? You know why it's not heard? Because they are in the minority. And you know what makes them in the minority? Because they've got their head screwed on right. You know, people who's got their head screwed on right, they're in the minority. Guys, yeah, if you got your head screwed on right, you must be minority. You know why? Because most people follow the popular. If you look in any stats, right, you will see that the whole division of the classes is based, let's just take any group or any population of people, and let's just take their exams, right? You're going to find the A-star students, you're going to find like the A-star students at the top are 5%, A students are probably 10%, so that's down to 85, yeah? The B students are about 15%, so that's down now to 70%. The C students are about 20% to about 20 to about 25%, so you're now down to about 45%, or say about 40 if you got max. And then you got your D students that make up another 20%, and then the last 20% or something right at the bottom, or 15%, are your E's and your F's and your U's and whatever you actually call them, right? So now what you're looking at is that if you actually say popular, what is popular? Popular is from the bottom all the way encompassing C. That's popular. So what I'm trying to say to you here is that 70% of people will follow the popular, will follow the norm, will not switch on the thinking caps on to try and say, hang on a minute, I want to question all of this. 70% of people will not do that. And in the 30% of people who do it, the 30% that do it, another 15% who are in between. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. You've only got about 10% of humans who will actually start saying, hang on a minute, I want to take a different approach to all of this. They're the minority. They're the minority. So why do you think the tabloids are the tabloids, and they sell quite well, and there are thousands of them, and the broadsheet papers are few? I'm sure you guys have studied all this, right? But apply it to religion. Come on, guys. Don't just leave it in your studies of that. I want you to apply that to your religion. And I want you to then question and say, I mean, out of all of us who've gone through this approach, right, how many of us have got that impetus, have got the potential to actually switch on their thinking caps and say, wait, let me actually go and see what the Sufis are saying, what the Salafis are saying. Well, let me actually start finding that middle glow in the middle. Because Sirat al-Mustaqim, you know, Sirat al-Mustaqim, what we ask for in prayers every day, that's what we're asking for. We're asking for the straight path. I'm not asking for only the straight path, but there's a sabil. Sabil in Arabic means it's the path, and the sawa as-sabil. Sawa means the middle path, middle part of that path, of the middle path. So when you basically look in Surah Al-Mumtahina, you will see that Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said, فَقَدْ ضَلَّ سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. فَقَدْ ضَلَّ سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. What does Allah mean by that? He said that this Muslim that has done this, he has deviated from the middle path of the path. The middle of the path. He didn't say he's completely gone off the path. He just deviated from the middle of the path. Now guys, the question now is, look, I haven't gone into any of, and I know most of you are, from some background or another. What I want to say to you is that what you will find with the polemics, okay, give anything, I can guarantee you will have two sides to it. You have this side of the spectrum, you have that side of the spectrum, right? And you've got the middle here. Now, for example, you're going to get, now let me say, if that's the middle here, if that's, I'm going to go with your right here. So your right is going this way, so let's say this is Salafi, right? And your left is going this way, so this is Sufi, right? I've got that to do. Sufi and Salafi now, right? You're going to find a 10% on this side, right on this side, and a 10% on this side. They will never, ever, ever leave their camp. They will never, ever read about each other except with utter bias, total bias. They will hate each other's guts. Yeah? They would want to rip each other if they could ever get that chance. They will see the other as the shaitan. They will see the other as the devil, as each one is looking at the other like that. Okay, I'm not saying just this side of that, each one is doing that. They will say that then, and what they will also do is, popular thinking is, they'll say, this 10% here will say that whole half is the same, and this 10% is going to say this whole half is the same. They will label them under one big label, so they'll say all Sufis are deviants, or all Salafis are deviants. Never pick up a Salafi book, never meet a Salafi. If you ever meet one, run as fast as you can away from him. And a Sufi, if you see him, then if you check him, he's got some instruments behind his back, ready to play you some kind of guitar, something with some machine in the background, and say, Allahu, Allahu, right? So they'll scare you with what they can, and the next minute you know is that if you ever come and you come into this 10%, or that 10%, that's all you're going to hear. You're going to hear a deviancy, this, and this is what the quotation, what they'll do is with quotation. It's popular. You see, this is what popular people do. Popular media takes one small quotation that is out of the context and will ignore 99% of the good quotations and will just show that, yes or no, guys, all Muslims are terrorists. You're either with us or you're against us. Yeah? Popular speech, which our President Bush used to give. So what I would say to you is that popular is that you just highlight, you just kind of highlight. So what are they doing? The Sufis have taken Salafi quotations, some of them, that are actually off, even, you see this, the interesting is, this 30 to 40% says, hey, I'm going to believe you guys, we don't really believe in that. Right? And it's the 10% that actually wrote it or they believe in it. But what they're doing, this 10% is carrying pamphleting, leafleting, writing books, and that 10% is the same to them, writing books, pamphleting, leafleting, and so on, right? And it's an attack. And in between, you've got this 80%. What happens is, the nearest 10% here, so over here you've got like the next 10, 15%, like you've got your, now your E's or your D's, okay? They kind of get caught in between as well. Sometimes they get caught in between here and there, right? On this side, the same thing happens. But then you've got the next 20% or whatever on top, right? Because now you come to the middle. They kind of think, nah, you can't believe in all that stuff. And they kind of meet each other in the middle, right? What I'm saying to you guys is this. If you're of the 10% here or the 10% here, I've just wasted my last 1 hour. Right, and you might as well say Assalamu alaikum. Maybe you might not even say salam to me. What can I do? I'm not really concerned about you. You can go and label me, put fatwas on me and say, this guy came and said this and blah, 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 yeah? But if you're not from that 10% here, the rest of the 80%, depending on where you are, there is a whole middle here that we can get on together. And when I say get on, I'm not asking you to cross over. I'm not asking you to cross over from this side to that side, that side to this side. But what I am asking you to do is this, is that you can get on together And as long as it is not clear kufr, clear disbelief, something that the text has said black and white without any argument, there is no argument in this, there's no other interpretation in this. As long as it's not that, we can shake hands on it. We can shake hands with the rest. I can leave you with your whatever you've got. You can say Amin quietly or loudly, and I can say it quietly. You can, keep your hands up, then I can keep to myself. You can actually continue to be who you are with whatever you're doing. And I can do. Now, a very important thing I'm saying, look, black and white text that is very concrete. So it's either straight from Quran or straight from Hadith, and good source, and there's no interpretation. So basically, you can't say it could have meant this, it could have meant that. There's no room for that. As long as we don't clash on those beliefs, then we can get on together. And I can still respect you as a person. And let's get on. And you know why? I'll tell you one last thing why. And I'm going to open up to question and answers. I'm going to open the question and answer after the last thing. Once, I used to love the Aesop fables. Do you like Aesop fables? Yeah, I love Aesop fables. When I was a kid, I wanted to borrow that book from the library every week, if I could, yeah? And every time I got hold of it, I tried to read as many stories as I could. Now there's one story there, because it's got a lot of morals in life. The more you go on in life, the more you can reflect on these, one-time soundingly childish stories, but they're not childish stories. They've got really deep meanings in those. So what happened is that the lion and the tiger, they came out, and the lion said, "Me, king of the jungle," and the tiger said, I think the lion and the tiger is going to come out like you don't know. Is it an hour's light? Is it? I didn't press off. So the lion and the tiger, they came out, and the tiger said, listen, pal, yeah? I'm the king of the jungle. So they both said, we're gonna bash you out today. And they both said, okay, if me and you have a fight, who's gonna be the judge? So they looked up and they seen this vulture there, and the vulture said, I'll be the judge. I'm high up here, you got nothing to worry about. I'll just look down and I'll basically see who's fighting, who's winning. I'll tell you who's winning. So the lion and tiger started, and they fought a bitter battle. Where they made it bloody, and they were on the ground after maybe a good 45 minutes. The sun's, baking on them, and they've lost all their energy. They haven't got the muscle to move another arm. And the tiger looks at the lion and says, Lion, do you know one thing? You know who the real winner is of this match? And the lion said, who? He said, it's a vulture. And there was the vulture now deciding, is he going to eat the lion first, or is he going to eat the tiger first? The reason why I said that, brothers, is look, we are honest to, I say this from the bottom of my heart, we sometimes are so short-sighted. We're fighting these fights. Again, forget this 10% and that 10%. The rest in the middle, especially the middle 60%, right? We're fighting when we've got causes that are our causes. What are our causes? Our causes are both Sufi, both Salafi want halal meat. Both Sufi want to have halal meals in all these schools, in all the colleges, in all the public places and so on. We want that. Both of us want to have, a right in this country to have Masajid and Madaris. Both of us have got united foreign policy and agendas. We don't want war in Iraq. We don't want war in Afghanistan. We never wanted war in these countries, right? But we're not united. We've both got an agenda where we want to have a political say in this country, and we want that to influence our lives in this country. We've got many issues on the educational side, on the cultural side, and how we do things. We've got those things that are there between us. We want those things. But unless we can start seeing that we can get on, though we hold to our differences, we never get together. and get these agendas together. The vote is always going to win, because we're fighting it out between ourselves. So even within the ISOS, I'll tell you, within your ISOS, within the university, guys, seriously, we're about 60 people here, 70 people here. Yeah. I asked the brother before I got here, I said, how many Muslims have you got in the whole university? He said about 1,000. Am I right? Yes, is he right? About 1,000 Muslims in the whole university? Probably more or less, yeah. So how many people have you got in the whole university in total, tell me?
30,000.
30,000, yeah. So you're one in 30. If those figures are right, you're 1 in 30. So what about, tell me this here, isn't it more important that we get together and we concentrate our efforts on giving dawah to the other 29, bringing them to Islam, than for me and you to become the tiger on the line? Isn't that more important, guys? Shouldn't we do that? I've seen it countless times, yeah? The shaitan has got them in the religion, they're fighting within the religion about whose feet should be where, whose hands should be where, whose hijab should be worn, how, like what. I mean, as long as it's not, again, as long as it's not going against the black and white source of the actual, Quran and Sunnah. But who should be like this, who should be like that, and so on. We're fighting in that, but yet we have got a common goal, which is we want to save people from hellfire. We want people to be practicing, we want them to come to religion. And shaitan has, just sits there smoking his shisha or his pipe. They think, oh my God, he says shisha, smoke pipe, well, whatever it is. They're all the same thing. He's smoking something, right? Whether it's cigars or whatever, he's smoking away and he's watching. His whole thing is easy now. Because me and you are fighting. We're supposed to be the religious people who are not fighting amongst ourselves. The ayats that the brother just recited before we actually started, the ayats of the Quran that were on there and he recited, they say what? They say, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ. You hold on to the rope of Allah and you don't separate. Now, what you'll hear is that the other will tell you, oh my God, did you see they didn't follow this ayah, they are deviated from us, they've got 4 madhabs, 4 religions, oh my God, there was only one Islam. And that kind of popular thinking is absolute, is destroying. It's going to destroy us, because that's not true. 4 madhabs didn't make 4 religions. That's enough. I wish I had more time to speak actually, but it doesn't matter. Now for your question and answer, please. Yeah. Okay, so we got one question here. How do you mediate people to deal between issues like using the dead as awliya? Now, what I'm going to do is, inshallah, I want you guys to keep your eyes out, and there's hikmah online on YouTube, and they record a lot of my lectures. And one of the ones that we decided we're going to do is we're going to do like this. I've only had about 55 minutes with you, or 40 minutes with you to talk to you, and I really haven't been able to go into these issues properly, because each issue, before I can go into it, I have to actually give you the whole background of it. And there's a whole thing about what bid'ah is. What is bid'ah? And you've got to understand it from a very, you've got to understand it from the point of its roots. You can't understand it from the, from the most apparent thing that comes to your eyes. And definitions of bid'ah, they differ. And what I want to do, inshallah, is about this ikhtilaf and the differences that we have, and to try and create this unity amongst us. Especially amongst the 60 that are in the middle, more or less, 30 on this side, 30 on that side, more or less. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to give a lecture, and it's going to be a good 2 to 3 hours long one, so it's going to deal with this with good depth. And we're going to start off talking about the ikhtilaf and the adab of having ikhtilaf, or difference of opinion. We're going to go into bid'ah, we're going to go into Salafi, Sufi, and so on, and these issues are going to come up about the dead as awliya. Now, I can't give you a very deep response for this right now, but I'm going to try and make it very, very brief, because time is running out. The whole issue is about, this is about the dead and the awliya and so on, and the whole issue is whether when a person dies, he's completely gone, dead, and his soul has got no connection to this world or not, or whether it has, whether there is any significance to that. And what I want to say is, I'm not going to give you an answer to this, because it really requires a good approach to it. I need to spend the next 15-20 minutes talking about just this before I can give you the answer, but I haven't got time to do that. All I will say to you is that people who think that they're calling to awliya or the dead and so on, why would anyone do that? Let's just give you a question. Why would anyone do that? Anyone would do that because they believe that they are communicating with the dead and they probably can get some help from the dead. Now, if that's the reason why people are doing that, then they have gone clearly against things that are black and white in the Quran and things that are black and white in the Sunnah. That you are actually going to stand there and in front of a grave, in front of a dead person, whether he's got his spiritual life or not, that's a separate debate. Even if he has his soul there, Allah said in the Holy Quran for us to make dua straight to Allah. Khalas. Allah said, Uduruni. You call me direct, I will answer your call. So that means that for anything I really want, anything at all I need in my whole entire life that can ever come into, existence, I have been ordered by Allah in the Quran to call Him direct and not even call the Prophet, not even call anyone else. That's very clear. So there is actually no reason. Now, I'm not actually saying here that the awliya spirits or the someone's spirit or the ruh, I'm not actually going to that at all. I'm not debating, because I would need 15 to 20 minutes to give you a full response. And that would involve that to actually talk about whether they are alive, whether they're not alive, whether they can hear us, whether they can't hear us. There's a whole separate debate. All I want to say to you is the point of them talking to the dead usually is that they want to ask something, or they want to ask the dead to go and intercede on their behalf. And Allah said clearly in the Quran, the whole Quran, He said, just ask me. Various ayats, you want to call me. You want help, I'll help you. Am I not enough for you? Allah said, Alaysa Allahu bikafin abda? Am I not enough for my servant? Qul idu Allah, Awidu Rahman, say Ya Allah, say Ya Rahman. Just say that. And these are the things Allah said directly in the Quran. So that is pretty much a very brief answer, but I don't want you to feel that I'm saying that they're all dead and got no connection whatsoever, because then you start getting those popular fatwas that come out, Wahhabika Bajja, whatever is a popular way of, slandering and so on, that normally comes out. Now again, at least, I'm being cautious here, and I don't want to cause, that mood here where we're going to start falling out on things that we don't need to fall out on. Okay, so next one is it important to follow a sect and what to look for when deciding which sect to follow? Again, it's a question that really is very broad. It hasn't really gone into any particular sect. If you actually write to me about a particular sect, is this sect okay? Then it gives me some substance to actually work on in a very brief answer. Otherwise, you're actually saying any sect. I mean, there are sects that are on the truth, and there are those that are not on the truth, and there are those that are in between. I'd like to ask you, on the internet, I've got to talk, so who's right? And I try to be balanced in that, to the best of my ability. Again, I told you, I'm a Hanafi, I'm a Deobandi, I come from another background, but I'm not a typical Deobandi. And even within the Hanafi method that I follow, I have caution. With certain things that don't make sense to me, I will not just go and just follow just because Imam Abu Hanifa just said it. I have got caution, and that's me because I've studied the religion to some good level. So what I want to say to you is that if you actually watch that, it's a good 3-hour thing that I've done, which will tell you all about the differences and so on, and the sects and the different sects that you've got, and what you can expect of them, and where you should probably be. And my conclusion, more or less, is that, again, what I've said today is that there are certain things that you don't have to go out and fight with, but there are certain lines you need to draw. You have to draw certain lines. I'm not going to stand here today and say to you, wrongfully, that we're all good Muslims, and mashallah, everybody's good, everybody Muslim, we all go to heaven, we love each other, even non-Muslim, all of them, they will also be forgiven by God. This is the extremes. And then the other side to it is that, if you don't follow me, I'm not 5 followers, you're not Muslim. There are people who are such extreme bitterness inside them that they start off, they do takfir of their own ustads. They start off studying under one teacher, and then after a while they say, I disagree with your teachers. You can't disagree with me. Yes, I can. You kafir. They do takfir of their own teachers, right? And there's all sorts of extremes on both sides. So I'm not going to say to you right now that follow this sect or don't follow this sect. But what I'm going to say to you is, guys, investigate. And you're all university students. All of you are university students. And one beautiful thing about you is that you're a new generation. And that's what I like. You don't have to carry their baggage. Please remember this. If you're going to remember anything when you walk out there, please remember this. You do not have to carry the baggage that others gave to you. You don't have to do that. You can drop it anytime you want. You are British. You are here. You've got free thinking. Right? Or you're supposed to have free thinking. Right? I actually studied here 8 years in this country, and then I went for my last year in Bangladesh, and I couldn't believe the difference. Here, we used to debate with our teachers openly. In the class, we used to debate, say, Ustad, with Adaab, with respect, Ustad, I don't actually agree with you. In a nice manner. And the Ustad said, well, what about this dalil? And I would say, well, what about that thing? And what about this? And we could go on for days on a subject. Over there, Bangladesh, I said, Ustad, what is it? What is it? I said, Ustad, I don't actually agree with you. What did you say? Did you actually think about what you said before you said it? Right? It's like in Bengali, Hassan, hey, tu buze bacho today. Buze bacho today. And then, like the whole class of 40 students were pinned up silent. And I was like some kind of big time rebellion, rebel that was there. It was called rebellion. And my friend next to me, he was like, nudging me. And then I spoke out. I said, Ustad, I fully researched you before I gave you that question. He said, what did you say? I said, yeah, I thought about it well enough before I gave you the question. In a nice way. I was shocked. What? I can't say a question? Opening your mouth is blasphemy? For what? Where am I? When I had 8 years of study in this country, and most of those students here, they were from, Pakistan, India, some from Bangladesh as well. But they had come here, they had climatized. You know what I'm saying, right? Climatized. Yeah. They go into mosque, and when they come with their bags, they go into mosque and say, hey, they're going to stick in that, hey, sit down, hey, and after a little while, they start seeing all sorts of things. Like this kid is being so, he's just not listening, and he's doing something funny, Why is he doing something like, the equivalent of this with the other finger, right? What's that? And they can't understand what is. Then they have to start understanding what is it that British children are doing to them, right? And after years, they say, whoa, we're in different place. And they get questions, and they really get put on the spot. Some of the questions I get as an imam, alhamdulillah, I don't mind getting these questions, I like to deal with them, but there's some imams that they won't want to deal with them. They'll say this blasphemy. For example, if a kid comes up to them and says, Imam, how do we know that God actually exists? My son asked me this the other day. He actually asked me this. He said, Dad, how do we know that actually God does exist? So I sat him down and I gave him a good, good spanking. I gave him I actually sat him down and we had a good talk. I gave him a good talk. And I said to him, I went into all that argument about the Quran, how the Quran has challenged us and to actually try and bring the like of it and so on and so on. And in my house I speak Arabic to my children. So I was actually saying the whole of this in Arabic, and I said, they came to the Prophet ﷺ and they wanted to prove that they actually got the like of the Quran, and the challenge was there. There was a whole group of Sahaba, and the Prophet ﷺ was sitting there, and this man walked in and with his friends, and he said, you know what? I've done what the Quran said I couldn't do. What was that? Is that I've actually brought to you the like of the Quran. I've made it like the Quran. So the Prophet said, okay, you carry on. Let's hear it. So the man said, Alfi. وَمَنْ فِي وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَنْ فِي لَهُ خُرْطُومٌ طَوِيلٌ. Is that the elephant? And what about the elephant? And what do you know about the elephant? It has a long trunk and it has big sides and it got they laughed. Now, when I said to my kid in Arabic, and he understands the Arabic, he laughed until he went downstairs and he was still laughing over his dinner, and he said to his mum, Mum, did you hear Alfi or Malfi? Because it's laughable. The guy looked at Al-Qari'ah. He looked at Al-Qari'ah, looked at Al-Qari'ah, Al-Qari'ah, وَمَا أَدْرَكَ مَا الْقَارِعَةُ يَوْمَ. And this is like the catastrophe, the great knocking, the great catastrophe. And what do you know about the great catastrophe? When people will be like moths on the day of judgment. Now that is profound, right? And this guy comes with an elephant, had a long trunk. So the thing is, you're going to get challenged, and if you get challenged, then if you can find it, I'm not saying I'm the best man, please. I'm just a person who's studying the deen. And the thing is, you can drop your baggage. You guys don't have to carry on your baggage that you've got. Okay, now, I can see some very, very, these questions that are coming up, yeah? They're all like, if I go into any one of them, I'm going to have to like talk for a little while, so I'm going to have to be quite picky. I'm not avoiding answers. I've got a train to catch. We don't have time, okay. I've got a train to catch in 1 hour's time, yeah, and I've got to eat in between that as well. And I'm sure some of you want to say a quick salams to me before I go, right? So, brother saying you haven't got time. Let me just see if there's any question that's really short. I'll try and answer it. Look, some of these questions, if you go to that talk of Master Who's Right, they will be answered in there. Okay, this is an important one, I think. I'm just going to pick on this one. It's the last question. What do you think about marriage between sects? Okay? Not sex, sects. that title we chose, I tell you, to even pronounce it, don't be sectist. Sometimes you try to say, don't be sexist. Okay, so marriage between different sects and the backgrounds that you've got. I would actually say to you that you better talk about your differences before you get married. You better talk about them properly. And when I say properly, I mean properly. Leave the love side out of it for a little while, because the love side out of it is going to go after a little while anyway. So you think after a little while, after a few months, you're going to look at it. She's there. So what you do is, you think about the issues from a good point of view. For example, you've got the Mawlid. Some people fall out in the Mawlid. You're going to practice the Mawlid, you're not going to practice the Mawlid. Some people could fall out in the Taweez. You've read these questions here about the Taweez, about awliya, about how far you go to believe in them, believe in their miracles, or whether you can contact them or not. Especially if it's Shia Sunni. I would rather see Shias get married to Shias, Sunnis get married to Sunnis, because I've had personal experience in long battles. Even after 10 years of marriage. There's one case that I dealt with about 5 days ago. After 10 years of marriage, what happens is, I tell you what really happens is, they don't know their background when they first get married, and it's all like, Romeo and Juliet, we get together and we have pie in the sky, and we'll go me and you, and that's it. We'll be the next Bollywood figures, and everything else. And after a few years, then they realize that, okay, that was just one side of it, now they get into life. But the real point comes when they start to become practicing. When one of them starts to find out their own background and their sect and what it's about, and they find out, oh my God, I'm living with the Barelwi, I'm living with the Deobandi, I'm living with this, this Salafi, this Sufi, oh my God, he's sleeping with me, on top of me, God, astaghfirullah. And then the next thing is that, they're trying to find the leaves on both sides to whack each other out. Honestly, they find the leaves on both sides to whack each other out. It's like, you think, guys, man, you're not married yet. Couldn't you even think, right? Let's go on, find out what these beliefs are before we get to. Because beliefs are the things that really can divide you. They can. Practice is not, sometimes to some extent, but beliefs really divide you. So on that point, I would tell you, please discuss it properly. And if you don't know what they are, if you don't know your background, and he don't know your background to the system, so you basically go to the imam and sit with the imam and investigate a bit before you actually get married. Because what you can do with kids involved in between, and then you're going to start finding your religion, your sect, the part of the sect you belong to, of your religion, and then it's really cat and mouse after that. Okay. So Jazakumullah khair, it's been lovely spending the evening with you guys. Yeah. I hope to see you inshallah sometime in the future. Brother's got an announcement to make before the sisters got around. So just before we leave, I'd like to request from you, make dua for inshallah, make dua for you inshallah. I'll see you sometime in the future. That's it, that's another issue. Clapping, can you clap or not? It's a good call out,
So I've got some upcoming events. So tomorrow we've got the Black History Month film, The Muslim. So that's going to be going on in the common room in the Union. At 5:30. At 5:30 tomorrow. We've also got a Charity Week meeting. The last meeting was kind of introducing everyone to Charity Week, so this one's going to be discussing the details of the events and seeing what you want to get involved in. We're going to be making banners and everything. It's going to be really fun, so get involved with that. On Thursday, the 1st of November, we are having our Charity Week /Eid dinner. And we have Ustaz Khannan coming from the US, inshallah, and Nabil Abdul Rashid, so that's going to be a really good event, and it's going to have a sit-down dinner and everything. The tickets are £10, and you can buy them today. Someone will be at the front, so you can buy the tickets today if you want to, inshallah. And that's all. Thank you.